Let me show you how to make bakery style croissants at home. I have a lot of info in here, so save this video for later. Start the night before by preparing your Poolish. In a small bowl, add 100 grams of bread flour, a half a teaspoon of dry yeast and 100 grams of warm water. Mix together and let it sit in the fridge overnight. The next day, mix 300 grams of all-purpose flour and 200 grams of bread flour. And give it a quick 30 to 60 seconds warm up in the microwave. Add 42 grams of sugar, 5 grams of dry yeast and 14 grams of salt. Whisk to combine. In a separate bowl, pour 220 grams of warm milk, 1 egg yolk, your prepared Poolish, and 150 grams of sourdough starter. If you don't have a sourdough starter, prepare more Poolish and use it instead. Whisk to combine, add the dry ingredients and use a fork to bring it together. Knead it for a minute or two. Place in a clean bowl and proof in a warm environment for 30 minutes. Fold the dough on itself several times and proof it for 30 more minutes. Repeat the fold process 2 more times. Wrap, flatten and place in the freezer for around 3 hours. After 2 hours, prepare your butter block. Take 200 grams of butter, arrange on parchment paper and close it like an envelope 20 centimeters by 16. Use your rolling pin to soften the butter. Even it out and create a neat rectangle. Put it in the fridge along with the dough for 20 more minutes. Take the dough out of the fridge and roll it out measuring 50 by 20 centimeters. If the butter is too hard, soften it again using the rolling pin. Place the butter block in the center of the dough and then close it inside the dough from both sides. Close the seam shut on one end, roll the air out and close the other side. Roll the dough out again, this time measuring 60 by 20 centimeters. Mark the center, fold both sides toward the center, and then fold over. This is called a book fold. Wrap it and place it in the freezer for 30 minutes. Take the dough out of the freezer and roll it back to 60 by 20 centimeters. This time mark your dough into 3 equal parts, fold 1/3 over the center, and fold the last third over both. Wrap tight and place in the freezer for 1 to 2 hours. Roll the dough out to the final size of 80 by 25 centimeters. Fold the dough in half and let it rest in the freezer for 20 more minutes. Roll the dough back as straight as possible and cut clean all the edges. This dough is for 16 medium-sized croissants and we will cut the dough into 8 equal pieces. You can use a ruler to make this more precise. For butter croissants, cut them diagonally into triangles and cut lengthwise for chocolate croissants. Keep half the dough in the freezer while you roll. Stretch the triangle, fold each corner of the base outwards and roll forward. And when you reach halfway, stretch again and roll over. Arrange them on a pan and place in the freezer. For rolling the chocolate croissants, place 1 chocolate baton at the edge, roll the dough over, place a second one on top, roll over, add a third one, and close. This recipe contains enough yeast to allow you to store those in the freezer for almost a week. Place back all the croissants in the freezer. You can use the leftover dough to create smaller pastries. After a couple of hours, you can move your croissants to an airtight container. If you would like to have them ready for breakfast, arrange the pastries you like to bake tomorrow on a sheet pan, spray some water, cover, and let it sit at room temperature overnight. They should be ready to bake as soon as you wake up. Preheat your oven to 220 degrees Celsius. Prepare your egg wash by mixing 1 egg yolk, 1 teaspoon of heavy cream, and a pinch of salt. Brush your pastries, taking care not to drip over the pan. And as soon as you place them in the oven, take down the temperature to 200 degrees Celsius. Bake for 10 minutes, rotate the pan and bake for 7 to 10 more minutes. If you see a substantial amount of butter leaking out of your croissants during baking, your croissants were probably underproofed or your oven was not hot enough. Make sure to preheat your oven well next time. If your croissants were slouching when you woke up, that means that they were overproofed. Let them proof in a colder part of your house or proof for less time. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Thanks for watching.